Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for spending some time with me tonight. And I want to talk about spotted bass and fishing for them while they're spawning, because that's going to happen before the largemouth. And it's really easy. I'm not a spotted bass expert. I've spent very little time learning that fish, but I will tell you this, when they spawn, they're extremely easy to catch. So here's my 2 techniques I use on spawning spotted bass. Can get you rich quick on any type of highland reservoir. So first one would be a Neko rig. That is a wacky rig with a nail and just a 1/0 split shot drop shot hook. I like the wacky O anytime I'm fishing this technique with the weight in it, just so you can throw it a lot further and you don't have to worry about that hook pulling out of the plastic. And then just a screw. You can get it from the hardware store. A lot of fishing companies make one as well. But a Neko rig, my favorite way to fish for spawning spotted bass. Now, another killer spawning bait for spotted bass is a shaky head. I'm sure a Ned rig works really well, but a shaky head just, for me, seems like I can throw it further. I can be a little bit more efficient. It gets to the bottom quicker. Maybe you're fishing as a co-angler, and a shaky head is just a better bait, in my opinion, than a Ned rig. I think when the Ned rig first came out, since it was a new bait and the fish hadn't seen it, I think it was really good. But now that a lot of fish have seen a Ned rig, I just like a shaky head better. So shaky head, I like a couple different worms. This Zoom trick worm, green pumpkin, that's going to be about as good as it gets. It's a very affordable bait. You get 20 in a bag. Now, whenever I'm shaky head fishing, I like the one with the little spike in it. I don't like any of the screw-in shaky heads for the fact that the worm really bogs down on your hook. So I'm going to rig this up and show you what happens with the spike. I always Texpose it anytime I'm fishing soft plastics. All right, so there we go. So when a fish bites this, he's gonna get in his mouth and you set the hook, it's gonna just come off there. Well, then you don't have to worry about that worm bogging down on the hook. So there it is right there. It's now basically become a wacky rig. What will happen when it's screwed in, when you have a fish bite it, and that bait's buried up in the plastic, you have all this leverage that is acting against your fish, all this plastic that's in between the tip of the hook and the bend of the hook. All that plastic in there could be pushing against the fish. You don't want that. You want that to come off. So any of the ones that have the little screw-ins, they're very efficient for casting, great for practicing, but when you're in a tournament, you will lose more fish on the screw-in. So I like the spike or shaky heads that just have nothing there and they just go up on the ball head and they just sit on the shank of the hook. But I don't like any of the ones where the head of the worm is permanently stuck in the weight. So a spot remover, this is a Gambler Giggy head, my favorite shaky head, but Zoom trick worm on an 1/8 ounce or a 3/16 ounce Gambler Giggy head is my favorite spawning fish. Now, if the fishing gets really tough, I will go to a Robo worm. This is a 4.5 inch Robo worm, and it's the same deal. You want to rig it up perfectly straight. This is a little more finesse approach. It's a hand poured worm, so it's got a little bit softer plastic and a little bit better color combination, but that's going to be my deal if the fishing gets a little bit tougher. So those 2 worms should cover all your shaky head fishing needs when the spots are spawning. So those are my 2 favorite spawning baits for spots. Now, one thing that will happen, I did say the spots will spawn before the largemouth. If you have really strong current on your lake, those spots will wait. So let's say it's March, the water starts warming up, and the current just is too strong. Those fish won't necessarily spawn. They'll wait. They'll wait until the current kind of slackens up a bit. So that's very important to know. One other thing that I have found that can throw a wrench in this whole plan is they can get really keyed in on a finesse jig. So if you know that the fish are spawning, spotted bass, they're spawning all over the lake, and you're throwing a Neko rig or a shaky head with a trick worm or some type of finesse worm on it, and you're not getting bit, definitely try a finesse jig, because sometimes they just get keyed in on crawfish and you have to give them what they want and they won't bite that worm. So if they're not going to bite those worms, definitely try a finesse jig. Just something magical about a little finesse jig. But that is the best way to catch spawning spots. I'm not an expert at it, so it's pretty easy to do. You got to try it. Any type of points, and they'll be spawning, 6 to 10 feet of water depending on the clarity of your lake. And it's a really fun way to just load the boat, and any Highland reservoir's got spotted bass in it. So try that, guys. It's really fun. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.